Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the County Operations Committee, better known as OPS. I'm Marita Davis Johnson, and I chair that committee. The commissioners that serve on the committee with me are Commissioner Robert Patrick and Commissioner Ladina Bolton. The commissioners that are here with us today, we welcome you, and that is Commissioner Nicole Messiah, presiding officer, and Commissioner Shakara Johnson. And with that, okay, with that, our presiding officer has another engagement, and so we're going to sort of bring forth the item 2025 11:30, and I keep saying the presiding officer, Michelle Long Spears. Okay, with item 25 11:30 is adoption of operation and performance assessments and ratification of contract number 2001-86, operational and performance assessment services purchasing policy exemption awarded to Moreland and Jenkins LLC, amount not to exceed $331,180, and that's for all commission districts. Did you have?
And Madam Chair, as we speak, I see that Mr. Manson is providing everyone with a copy of what will be presented. So what is before you today is an item seeking to do two things, and the CEO will provide an introduction to the actual content and provide a context for today's discussion that will be led by Mr. David Roberts from Malden and Jenkins. But it's important to note that what you have is two things. One is the proposed adoption of this operational and performance assessment. And this is not something that we're actually going to seek. We would like a due pass, but we would like to defer the approval for a couple of weeks to give everyone the opportunity to review it, because it's a very substantial document, and also provide the opportunity for us to meet with you and provide, kind of strategy discussions, as well as kind of, place the appropriate discussions in the various committees. So we would look for, the approval in a few weeks hence. But with that being said, I would like to turn the floor over to CEO Cochran Johnson to introduce the item, as this was one of her major initiatives when she took office. CEO.
Thank you, COO Williams, and thank you to the Board of Commissioners. It's good to see everyone. I guess we'll start from January 14th of this year, when I first stood before you to present our first budget. One of the things that was very important to me coming into this position was to assess our departments. Of course, DeKalb County has 34 departments, but for the sake of this report, we focused on 18, our forward-facing departments and those that we feel are absolutely critical to the success of DeKalb County. With that being said, 171 interviews, 38 workshops, 13 job shadowing sessions, and 22 facility tours have resulted in a total of 266 actionable items that will be discussed here today. Within those actionable items, we have broken them out for you because 69 can be quick wins for DeKalb County that are easy to remediate but will have substantial impact. Also, it's very important to point out that in DeKalb County, 3.8% of what you have before us are strengths, because we do want to identify what we're doing well and build upon it. We also have, and this is very critical, 7.7% of what has been put forth are risk. Risks are always a problem. We must start there to remediate risk. 21.9% we identify as opportunities. If we get it right and we make some changes, it will benefit us all. 66.6% of the report indicates that there are inconsistencies and issues with various operations.
Madam CEO, we wanted to see if they could put the presentation on the screen.
And that is a perfect segment, because I'm going to step away and we're going to allow David to make the presentation.
Oh, okay.
What I have given you
I'm
is
sorry.
just it is the cliff notes of what you have. It is a very extensive report, 408 pages. And I do want to say that today we come to present and bring forward. Malden and Jenkins, they have an extensive amount of experience in organizational assessments. They worked with Gwinnett and several other counties, and honestly, in a short period of time, they have presented us with an overload of items to address. So this is going to be an ongoing project, but at this time, I will call up David. I don't think Kate was able to make it today, but we will move forward with the presentation.
Okay, and thank you. Didn't want you to think that I was cutting you off, but we were all trying to follow
Figure
the
out the page.
presentation as you were talking, so you wasn't giving the presentation.
No,
Okay.
just the cliff notes. The main
Okay.
takeaway, 266 items, 66% of those items must be addressed immediately. Because there are inconsistencies and there are identified issues, and 7.7% are risk, which are always difficult for organizations. So, David?
Okay, so will we have the presentation pulled?
Yeah, and Madam Chair, they're working right now to get it pulled up on the screen, so we're
Okay.
having some minor technical issues. So that may be the 267th recommendation dealing with technology.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. Well, thank you, members
good
of the board.
afternoon.
Yes. My name is David Roberts with Malden and Jenkins, and I've had the pleasure to serve the county, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So I think we are working to get the presentation on screen, but you do have a hard copy in front of you, and I'll be walking through that. So briefly on slide 2, just the table of contents. So want to give you just kind of an overview of what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about the overview and background, the objectives and goals of the study, how we did it with our approach. We're going to talk about organizational maturity, and we'll get into that in detail, and then get through some of our recommendations as well as our next steps. So on slide 3, in terms of the overview and background, in February of 2025, the CEO engaged Malden and Jenkins to assess 18 county departments through a formal operational and performance assessment. We engaged more than 330 county employees and contractors through 171 interviews, 38 workshops, 13 job shadowing sessions where we actually shadow employees and walk through different business processes that they're doing, and 22 facility tours. So I mentioned that to show that this was very much in depth, and we tackled a lot in a short amount of time. In terms of documentations, we reviewed more than 1,700 documents, including policies and procedures, job descriptions, data sets, and other reports. On slide 4, in terms of background, so the newly elected DeKalb CEO sought to conduct an operational and performance assessment. Of the 34 county departments and divisions, the CEO selected 18 designated most critical for this assessment, which really based on the factor of being customer service facing, internal service, and having direct interactions with stakeholders. On the bottom of slide 4, we list out those 18. I won't obviously read them all, but you'll see that it represents certainly some of the most customer facing and important departments within the county. We commend the CEO for undertaking this work. I think, and we also commend her for really setting a positive tone at the top. We had access to people at all levels throughout the county, and there really very much was a culture of sharing and innovation, and people were open and honest with us, which we certainly appreciate. And we also wanted to recognize the more than 330 county employees who gave their time in terms of allowing employees to meet with us, take times away from their daily responsibilities, and provide their insights. So on slide 6, as Madam CEO alluded to, and I know you have probably a very hefty document in terms of our full report, but there were approximately 260 recommendations that we came through. And we divided the observations and recommendations by categories that's shown on slide 6. So observations are areas where there could be potential improvement, could help close the gap to get to leading practices, or there simply could be some areas for efficiency. Then we have corresponding recommendations that address each observation identified. Looking at slide 7, out of the 266 recommendations, approximately 69 are quick wins, which the county can implement immediately. Sorry, sir. Let me continue. On the bottom of page 7, the observations are classified by type, which drive different types of either inconsistency, issues that were noted, opportunities, risk, and strength. I think that we certainly noted a number of accolades and things that the county is doing well. This absolutely was not a gotcha, if you will, but really a collaborative effort focused on teamwork and meaningful improvement. On slide 8, so are the objectives and goals, the purpose of the assessment. We wanted to understand organizational structures, key workflows and business processes. As I said, what's working well, but also what could be enhanced. We compared operations to leading practices. We assessed the culture within departments, and then obviously we developed recommendations and opportunities for enhancement. On slide 9, this walks us through kind of our basic approach. We have a formal methodology that we use for these type of assessments named Compass. And we did our approach into 4 stages: initiating and planning, spent a lot of time gathering information, fieldwork and analysis. We were out in the field doing a lot of interviews, things of that nature, and then validation and reporting, certainly writing the report and working on that. Slide 10 shows a term that we use called a maturity model. And if you look at the left, it goes from level 1 to level 5. So level 1 is basically non-compliant with governing regulations. Level 2 is you're compliant. Level 3 means that you're formally governed, that you're doing things in a standardized process. So you have dedicated policies and procedures that are current and that are being followed. Level 4 means that you're doing everything preceding in levels 1, 2, and 3, but you've also optimized your workflow. You're doing things in an efficient manner. And then level 5 would be a strategic partner, where that department or function is proactively assisting others. So the example I tend to always give is with purchasing. If you have a department that just only goes to purchasing when they need something, that's not purchasing as acting as a strategic partner. So you want purchasing to be proactive, understand its customer needs, and proactively provide support, and that would be level 5. Out of all the 18 departments that we assessed, the average was a 2.8. So right there in between compliant and formally governed. And in a couple slides, I'll show a breakdown by department as well. So the highest maturity assessment that we had was level 5, which was the medical examiner's office. And the lowest assessment was a 1 in purchasing and contracting.
So the slides are up and you have the clicker there by your hand.
Oh.
If you hit the green button, it
Perfect.
advances.
Okay, thank you so much. So the 2.8 represents the average of all 18 departments. And I think as we have specific recommendations by department to move forward, but generally speaking, I think as the county gets more consistency, more centralization, it will certainly move up to level 3, which is close in terms of formally governed. I think that once you get things automated and fixed with your technology process in terms of CV360 and some other efficiencies, you certainly can move to level 4. And then it's going to take a culture shift and a mindset shift to really move to that strategic partner. Okay. So these tables show each department's score from the maturity assessment that we did. The highest ranking were three departments or divisions that scored a 5, a 4.8, and a 3.5. And that was the medical examiner's office, fire rescue, and police department. The lowest ranking scores was the purchasing and contracting, which scored a 1. And then you had a handful of other departments that scored 2 there that are shown in that right-hand box. So from a recommendation summary, this shows you recommendations by department. And I think it's important to note that the number of recommendations don't necessarily correlate to performance. And I think a really good example of that is fire rescue. So on the prior slide, fire rescue scored a 4.8 in terms of its organizational maturity, yet we have 25 recommendations for them. And what those recommendations mainly relate to is really getting as close as they can to being a leader in their industry and following best practice. They have the organizational maturity, they have things in place, and they are acting as a strategic partner. They have things that they can continue to do and invest in so that they continue that level. So again, number of recommendations don't necessarily equate to low performance. So I've got 2 more slides, and then certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have. So I think wanted to talk about the areas of focus moving forward. And I think these are some of the key takeaways. Again, I know the report's pretty voluminous, so try and make it a little succinct for you. I think that one, need to drive consistency and standardization within departments. Right now, there's a lot of decentralized and processes and policies and adherence to those. I think that main topic is certainly to assess and remedy the issues related to the implementation of CV360. You invested a lot of money in it and want to ensure that you're getting the benefit that you paid for and that your operations are streamlined. As mentioned before, looking at enhancing the centralization of services that will really allow you to drive more enterprise-wide strategies because you have a little bit more control over things and influence when they're centralized and have less risk, in my opinion, as opposed to decentralization. Looking at enhancing your indirect support services, or also known as internal support services, such as finance, HR, IT, et cetera, because as those departments are going to have enterprise-wide impact throughout the entire organization. Some departments are leveraging KPIs or key performance indicators, but there's not really a holistic system that's being driven from a KPI or management perspective. And so one of our multiple recommendations that we have relate to implementing KPIs, tracking data, begin tracking things so that over time you can start to really measure performance in a meaningful way. And lastly, in terms of area of focus, I think obviously one of your largest spend items is related to personnel, and I think that's one of the county's greatest assets. So continue to invest in your employees, leverage them, and continue to invest in enhancing performance management and training for the employees. And on the last slide, in terms of next steps, so I think certainly there should be a focus on implementing the recommendations from this assessment. And again, I know it's a lot to digest. Consider conducting additional assessments on departments that weren't included in this initial 18. I think this has been very valuable and brought a lot of things to light, both positive accomplishments as well as opportunities. And I think it would be good to include those departments that weren't included initially as well. Capitalize on this momentum. I think I was really impressed with, again, the tone at the top. People seemed very open and honest and willing to provide their feedback and saw this as an opportunity for their voices to be heard. So I think capitalizing on the momentum of what we got here is very critical. Brand this transformation as an initiative. I think, whether it's part of DeKalb Reimagined or something else, this is a transformation that's very positive that I think should be branded and taken advantage of. Certainly leverage consultants and employee champions that can help move things along. Create a program-specific work plan for the implementation so that there's visibility in terms of monitoring the progress and where things stand. Obviously, each of you up there can provide tremendous support by monitoring the progress and really helping to drive and ensure accountability for implementation. And lastly, I think that certainly implementation of our recommendations really get back to the 5 key goals of this entire project. And that's related to efficiency and effectiveness, reducing risk, strengthening controls and procedures, increasing transparency and accountability, and I think most of all, enhancing customer service. So that concludes our presentation, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a lot to digest in this.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is.
So I look forward to going through it. You have given us preliminary information
Yes, ma'am.
that we can utilize as we go through this voluminous book. But first of all, are there any questions from committee members?
Yes.
Okay. I think
Go
he
ahead.
came first and then
Okay.
you, Nadina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As has been said, this is a lot of data all at once. What is a reasonable time frame for the, was it 67 low-hanging fruit, easy things to, what would be the implementation time of those? And I don't know if that's a CEO question or a,
I'm going to join. Let me say that I wanted to bring this because it is a lot to unpackage. In our office, we began to sit down and go through the entire document. What I propose for us, because one of the things we also discovered as we set about coming up with an organizational plan and identifying how we do business, what's good, what needed to be addressed, is that we believe that at least a third to a quarter of what you have in front of you wouldn't be there had we been more actionable on audits over the years. So I also want to point out that we have printed and distributed all audit reports for the past 10 years. And we have required each department head to respond in writing as to whether or not you have addressed the issues. And if, because we have found as we've conducted this study that in some instances, there was a belief that perhaps we shouldn't do this because they don't understand our process or this is not what we consider an industry standard. But I think when we fail to be responsive, there is an expectation that what is requested will be done. So we have also required conversation to take place so that we get consensus. But in order to move forward, what you have here, we have 69 low-hanging items. We have a total of 60 pages of recommendations. And on many of those pages, there are multiple recommendations per page. I will be returning to you to propose that we have a change manager. Because I want to be clear that there is so much work to be done that this has to be the direct responsibility of an individual who literally acts as a project manager within the various departments to ensure that action is taken and holds each department accountable for hitting milestones so that we literally get this work done. So with that being said, I want us all to digest it first. I'd like the opportunity to come back, but we have already began certain implementations. I can stand here and say to you, let me grab a little note. In terms of our procurement department, we've already taken action there because our procurement policies had not been updated since 2014. And as a general rule, we should review procurement policies every 2 years. So we've already engaged with the National Institute for Government Procurement. They have had their kickoff session and they are currently assessing various areas of procurement. So some of what we see, in some ways we expected because we knew that there was work that needed to be done in certain areas. Beyond that, when you read code compliance, I had said, that I felt that it was important that we potentially look at restructuring it so that it moves away from falling under the jurisdiction of sanitation, and perhaps it should be housed under our police department. And given a restructuring, we've already rolled that out. As of August 2nd, 3rd, we actually have become proactive. We treat code compliance as we do policing with zones. And we have split shifts now, whether, I'm sure that will come out in committee, where our code compliance officers work till 8 p.m. Because what we found is a large portion of code compliance issues have to be dealt with after 5 p.m.
That's correct.
So if you have people that were arriving at 7 a.m. and leaving at 3, we didn't have the coverage we needed. So there are parts of this that are already in the works, but I do believe that we have to make it a priority, and we need a change manager who's responsible for the implementation, because I truly don't have the time to oversee the work. And all of our employees within various departments, they all own a separate responsibility and job. And I do believe that now that we've come up with this document, and I do want to commend Malden and Jenkins, because 1,700 documents, we kept thinking as these things were going out, this is a lot of material to digest. And 408 pages, I was absolutely blown away with how quickly they moved. Because for me, being newly elected, time is not my friend. People are expecting us to get things done and get it right. And I do believe here we have a foundation also. As you read this document, a lot of what has been requested requires one word, and that's revenue. We have to be very cautious with spending if we're to create the DeKalb that we know is needed, because a large part of this is requesting new technology. I'd also like to say that we have already begun implementing across departments a board, a productivity board. And with that productivity board, if you pull it up, I know Commissioner Terry has experienced it. At any given time, you can see the exact amount of business licenses that have come in for that week, for that particular day, how many has been processed, how many LDPs are in process, how many inspections have been created, because we need to be able to assess amongst 34 departments with the click of a button where we are. And right now, because we have not honestly focused as we should on technology, we send far too many emails to department heads trying to get answers that every one of us should have easy access to. So that is also something that is not a light lift, because now we are sitting with each of the 34 department heads, and I've said 90 days, because I've learned if you don't give expectations, gone are the days where we just sit, we put a timeline. In 90 days, I would like to see each and every department have a dashboard, and that's what we refer to them as. But because all 34 departments are different, you have to determine the variables that are included in each dashboard, because each dashboard is unique. As it relates to CB360, it was actually implemented last year, but we are finding that there is a lot of confusion around it, what it does. There's confusion around the service levels that's associated with the contract that's supposed to give the clarity that we need to utilize the system. That said, we've got to figure that out, because it was supposed to be the solution. And at this point, it is not functioning, I'll say, at its optimal level. But the good news is we have an opportunity before us, and I hope that you embrace this research as we have, because it's one thing to believe you know what the issues are, but it's another to send in people from outside the organization to assess and come back to us with what are actionable items that can make us better. And I truly believe that this will be what defines us as we move forward and how we do business, to give us, honestly, the clarity that I know we all want in terms of service delivery. So now I understand even more some of the challenges within the departments, because they've not all come forward to say that this is an issue, but they're not operating honestly with optimal equipment, and in some instances, even the resources they need to adequately do their jobs.
If I may, one follow-up question.
Okay.
Thank you, CEO. That's a lot of work ahead of us.
Mouthful.
It's a mouthful, yes. To the extent that this has given information on where we need to improve, this can be a guideway to what we could expect in the annual audit. I know we don't necessarily have findings, but we've had recommendations in the past, and this would be a gateway to sort of be prepared for those. And your innovation officer, I guess, is going to be able to dig into both of these documents and get us moving.
That is the intent, because again, we're dealing with going through not only this document, but also our audits, because, you know, we have to be careful where we put money to get optimal returns on it. I believe previously would have been a good idea to have had an individual who was responsible for overseeing the audit reports to make sure that actionable items took place. But I think one change manager who has the ability to work with all of the departments, and that could be noble. It could be, because I want to continue working with Malden and Jenkins, and they have agreed to make logical recommendations, because it does us no good to go out and do the research if we're not going to take the deep dive. And also, I want to point out to you all as committee heads and leaders of PWI, OPS, ERPS, Public Works and Infrastructure. Did I leave anyone out? PICS, FAB. It is my intent, let me say this, to divide this by committee. And there will be ongoing reports. I would say we should do it on a quarterly basis as to where we are as we implement the suggestions that are within this document. So the committee chairs will have to own this too. So I just want you to know that this is going to take what I often call a conglomerate approach, because each committee has to understand the departments that are within their jurisdiction and what is required to bring them, I should say, forward or where they should be. And as you receive these reports on a quarterly basis, we should begin to see the progress, and we're reporting the processes that are being used in committee.
Thank you, Madam CEO. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bolton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my first question is going to be on page 3, but before I get to the question, I also want to reiterate my appreciation to you, Madam CEO, and to the team that did the assessment. Because I've mentioned many times how District 7 has visited every department, court, division, constitutional office. And one of the things that we found is that we have some brilliant people who are industry leaders, and the departments have been awarded over and over again. But it was made obvious to us early on that there were gaps. And so we tried in the best capacity that we could to support. At that time, we didn't know about this initiative, but to support the concept and the vision of it when we spoke to Director Ransom with HR, and she took the step of requiring the checklist, which explicitly discussed CV 360. And so District 7 wrote a resolution basically reaffirming that checklist, because not all departments had an onboarding process. And we figured that was a great first step. So to see this, I am very excited and very impressed, especially, I think you said you started this in February, which is really amazing. And I just want to commend you for that before going into my questions. But on page 3, where you indicate that there were 13 job shadowing sessions, I was curious 2 things. One, what departments were not shadowed, and how did you determine which ones you would shadow?
No, great question. So in terms of the specific departments that we did shadow, that I would have to refer you, I have to get back to you, but it's definitely in our report. Where we can find information from process, we typically do that through interviews and workshops. Where we wanted to job shadow is something where, maybe people are typically out in the field. As an example, considered job shadowing, I had the opportunity to do a ride along with the police department. So I rode along with them so I could really understand what it's like for a DeKalb County police officer in the day and in the night and out in the field. So the job shadowings typically relate to folks that are, less office-based and more out in the field doing specific activities.
Thank you.
Yes,
And on page 5, it says here that there were more than 330 county employees throughout multiple departments and position levels. How did you determine that to be, I guess, a representative sampling of the number of county employees that you needed to engage? And was it evenly distributed amongst the different departments, or was it based on the number of employees in each department, so you kind of balanced it out in that capacity?
Yes, ma'am. It was more the latter. So we did, with departments that had higher number of employees, we did more interviews or had more touch points because they typically had different numbers of functions that they do. We wanted to make sure that we just weren't hearing from the top. We want to make sure that we heard from boots on the ground. And, again, we went out to facilities and storage, and we met with people in the warehouse. So we met with really people all throughout the organization at different levels, and really got honest and open feedback.
Wonderful. And so we're not using the term audit. I understand that. We're using the term assessment and recommendations and those sort of words. However, in our approach to addressing these, I believe it was 266 recommendations, are we kind of categorizing them by observations versus findings, terms we will use in an audit in order to outline what we need to change versus want to change, or what is more urgent versus which is not?
Absolutely. So we actually did a first cut in a roadmap that we did that's in the detail report in terms of our perspective on priority. But I think that you do need to take a formal approach, and as Madam CEO mentioned, a change champion to really oversee this. I think there can certainly be discussions in terms of which priorities you want to focus on, but I think the terms that resonate with me are certainly people, process, and technology. And so you're focused on getting your job descriptions accurate so they align to what people are doing. Ensuring that we have formal policies and procedures and that they're consistently applied. Certainly technology, capitalizing on the investment that you've made thus far. And strategy. I think one of the key things that you'll see throughout our report is, I would say strategy is typically decentralized. And so really helping departments to understand what the county's overall strategy is and how each department can support that and align with that.
And my last question, if I may, Madam Chair, is on page 10 with respect to the maturity model. Is this model based on an industry standard that you've adapted for us, or is this something internal that you guys have created to assume what makes a level 1 versus a level 5?
Sure. So this maturity model is kind of our internal proprietary measurement tool, and we've got a lot of curriculum behind it to help us kind of decide where departments or functions fall. However, some different versions of this are often used when assessing really any organization, but I think ours is really tailored for the government, especially local government.
Okay. So technically, that was my last question, but based on what you've said, because you indicated that the recommendations were based on an industry standard, bringing the departments up to industry standard. If this is an internal model, how do we know that your recommendations will help us meet those benchmarks?
So I think that's a great question, and that's what I was trying to determine, that there somewhat is a distinction between the maturity model and the number of recommendations. So if you look at our recommendations, we do base them on industry-leading practices or criteria, and we cite that, within the report. From a maturity model, it is a little bit subjective, but this is where we believe you are and certainly have the opportunity to grow with that. But all the recommendations that we made and throughout our field work, we compared each department to leading practices where applicable.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to say we do have more questions. So if we can ask the questions without the commentary, because we do have a agenda to get through. I would appreciate it. Okay, I think you asked me first.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I think Commissioner Terry, did you? Okay, and then you, and then Sakara. And I hope that I got it in order.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I certainly appreciate the assessment that you put together. Just for our audience to see, this is the real assessment. I believe it is 407 pages long, and so I look forward to reviewing a deep dive review on it. And so I did just request, Madam Chair, I'm not on the ops committee, so I can't make the motion or even vote on it, is that we do a lengthy enough deferral, maybe 30 days, to give time to go through it. That's just a lot. And I already have questions from your presentation today, but I think it would be best just to hold them. And so if you guys would consider that. My second question is if it's possible to meet with you. Sure. Once I have my list of questions prepared, I think even just based off your presentation today, most of my answers are going to be in the binder, but anything that's not, I think that you can expound on in a Zoom meeting with my office.
Absolutely. And I'm a
you.
proud DeKalb resident, so happy to meet in
Oh,
person.
well, great.
Yes.
Yeah, you're even more invested. That's
Very,
good to hear.
absolutely.
All right, thank you. Yield back.
Okay, I think it was Commissioner Terry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks again to Madam CEO for, doing an exercise that has not a lot of glory to it. It's the nuts and bolts and it's the inner workings, and sometimes you never know what you're going to find. But I think the approach you've taken has been really good. It's not about trying to punish anybody or say someone did something wrong. We're all creatures of and where we're at that moment and what's going around us. So leadership starts at the top. So you were leading by saying, we got to do this. I am sort of surmising that y'all have kind of put together not just this assessment, but reflecting on years of audits that y'all have been doing for us that have had recommendations and findings that just never really got acted on.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, it's not 10 years, so we're going back 2 CEOs. And so obviously that's a lot of catching up to do. And I certainly agree with the principle of having the committees of jurisdiction sort of, tackle that. And I think certainly for my role as the audit committee chair, we'll be happy to support and backstop any additional, work that needs to be done.
Do you have a question? Because we have a thick agenda. And so
All right,
hopefully.
almost done.
Yeah, that's okay.
And so the only question I really had was other departments that might be next on sort of the operational audit. That was in the resolution related to the customer water protections. We had an operational audit for the watershed department. Is that something that will be next on the list to work on?
I know that Mr. Lavoris Campbell had completed an audit of the watershed department. So with that being said, I'm completely open if there is a belief after that report has been reviewed. I take no issue with even a deeper dive if necessary. But in terms of the scope of the audit that was completed here, their work is done based upon the initial agreement,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, and we can talk about it offline, but I think back then we were sort of anticipating there would be kind of this operational assessment. And I think because watershed arguably is going to be the largest sort of department, it lent itself to that operational assessment. So I can't remember if Director Campbell was doing just an audit or if it was more nuts and bolts like efficiency. So I just asked that we consider that. We had set a goal of having it done by January 2026 in the resolution, but understand if it might take a little bit more time. So just wanted to add that for consideration. Thank you.
And I would, totally welcome, because of what we have experienced with water, and a deeper exploration, because what Mr. Campbell did, he did touch on actionable items, but it was not a deep dive. And I think that would be an entirely separate report, and identifying a company that has experience, particularly as it relates to water.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Madam Chair. I appreciate wholeheartedly this assessment. It presents a lot of opportunities and for us to be the best and better DeKalb. So I appreciate that. As it relates to the project management office, because in just looking chair of PECS, I have human resources, planning and sustainability. So we have Ms. Njuku who's here. And of course, I'll be speaking in more depth with Ms. Ransom as well. And then we also have Alan Ferguson, who is now our Chief Housing Officer that's coming in. So I'm sure I'll have conversations, with him as well. But just making sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's as to the recommendations that have been made. So with the project management office, are we envisioning it being more of an officer that's engaged throughout the departments, or are we envisioning that it's more multifaceted in that there's an officer and then deputies or other folks that are working in conjunction with?
Well, let me say that it's not my goal to create a new department or division each time we get a new item. But I do believe that there has to be one individual who owns the work. We do have, and of course, this is a new position as well. We have DeKalb County's first project manager.
Yes.
And she's done an excellent job in terms of moving forward our transit-oriented development projects, keeping people on task. We're also in the process of building out a new county website. So with that being said, identifying an individual is the initial goal who will work alongside the project manager. We now work with dashboards, create levels of authority, and working with department heads, because keep in mind, this research spanned 18 departments, but we have a total of 34. There's 16 not listed. So let's get through, in particular, where there were risks. We never want to be vulnerable as a government. So we start there. We also start with the 69 low-hanging pieces of fruit that are quick wins, that are good for us all, and we continue to work. So that person should create the roadmap of accountability and the actionable plan based upon the assessment and how we move to simply get things done. And I will not stand here and say that we can do all this within a 6-month period, because there is a lot to read and digest. We have 60 pages of recommendations.
Just one quick. Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. I'll tell you, when I heard this was, in our box, I immediately, my chief of staff brought it over, started reading into it. Bit of a nerd, 407 pages. Again, to me, this is just opportunity here to get it right, to get it better, to do the best that we can. So we're envisioning just start out with a individual to start, so we can start getting the low-hanging fruit implemented.
And let me say that as we have the conversation, I have often tried to bring in, for lack of better words, I've always liked one throat to choke. But we've found that sometimes you have to be equitable with the assault, okay?
Yeah.
Because we have 60 pages of recommendations, 266. So it could be, in my noble attempt to find one person, because I want to be miserly on the funds that's associated with creating new positions, we have to be mindful of that. I want to be honorable to what I've said. I've said no creation of new positions without justification. This document is justification. We need a person to own this. There's no one within our department who has the capacity to take this on and see that it's done. As we work together here with Malden and Jenkins and others to determine whether one individual can handle the job, then I will report back if we feel that two positions are needed. But at this point, the goal is one individual.
Thank you so much. I yield to you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
Mine is
Johnson.
brief, thank you. So as we're looking forward to working towards this, and I do really appreciate this assessment and taking on this task, and it is so important, I would like to go ahead and start looking forward. So when did we think we might do a reassessment, especially on the maturity scores? Like, is that in a 2-year? Should we build this in to every 2 years, 4 years of reassessing, reevaluating, so as we continue to work through these items?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I recommend early on doing it more frequently. So whether it's 6 months or typically a year, and would do an annual assessment maybe for 3 years so that you can track progress, and then hopefully you move the needle there, and then you can get to kind of more of a 2 or 3 year cycle going forward. But hopefully, if we have a lot of commitment, we can move that needle really far in 3 years.
I think that's important that we're all kind of thinking along those mindset. This is not a one and done. Implement this one time, but we need to keep reevaluating and make sure that we're continuing to grow.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Are you?
Well, thank you. I think the first thing we have to do is get through these 700 pages.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate you. Madam CEO. And do we have, so at this point, you all are asking for a 30-day deferral to give our commission
Yes.
members time to read and digest this book, and to also be able to ask questions personally.
Sure. So yes, Madam Chair, we
Within
recognize it's
2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a very large document.
Yeah.
A 30-day deferral would be fine. We don't want to go too long, because as soon as you adopt, we want to bring forward the change agent, or we want to finalize that, because
Right.
there will be someone to help us implement these things.
Right.
30 days is fine if that's.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I move to defer item 2025-1130 for 30 days.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this item is deferred for 30 days. Thank you all so much for your presentation. Okay, so let's go back to the minutes of July 15, 2025. If you all had an opportunity to review the minutes.
Yes, I move to approve item 2025-1075.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Excuse me, the minutes are approved. We're gonna skip around a little bit, and we're gonna go to item 25-1130. Is Ms. Smith here? Okay, that is all commission districts. It's the adoption of the operational. No, I'm sorry.
just did that.
That's not it. That's not it. That is your item is
I think you're looking at 1009, proposed approval of the sale.
1009. I'm sorry. Yeah, proposed approval of the sale of vote centers hubs. So if you could give us a brief synopsis of
Yes, thank
what
you,
that
Madam
is.
Chair. So the sale of these vote center hubs or storage containers demonstrates our move to a more efficient voting system that meets and exceeds the state regulations. And so based on the voter needs over the past few years, along with underutilization of those hubs, we are moving to sell the surplus machines to other jurisdictions. And so keep in mind that DeKalb VRE has more than adequate storage units or containers to meet the needs of the voters, and so there will be absolutely no impact on our voters or their voter experience. So for both early voting and election day, we have the coverage that's needed.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Commissioner Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are these the little kiosks that you showed us
Yes.
about 2 years ago that have kind of the little screens on all four sides?
That's correct.
Okay, so basically we just have too many of them?
Yes.
Okay.
So we used all of them in 2023 when we initially purchased them, but as we've seen with the early voting turnout that, you know, we've increased the number of early voting sites to accommodate the turnout for early voting. And so on election day, we no longer need as many of those
Okay.
in the polling locations.
I think it's in my packet, but I didn't look at it because I'm on the committee. But how many are we selling?
So we are looking
Like pages.
to sell 107 of the D1 units, so that holds the 1 unit. And so those are, well, they sold them to us as ADA compliant, but we found that it's easier for us to set up a booth with a table instead of those hubs, because if someone comes in with a wheelchair, they still had to turn to the side. So we're gonna sell 107 of those, and then the D2, which contains 2 touchscreens on each side, we're looking to sell 93 of those.
Okay. And how many will we have left?
We will have, for those, we will have half, I believe, the 93.
90.
So the D4s are the units that we will keep all of. We're not selling any of those, and those have the 4 units of the 4 touchscreens and the printers on each side.
Okay, gotcha. And then in terms of, it looks like the estimated sale revenue will be $209,025. I guess we'll just receive it back into the general fund, but presumably you'd want to put that back into operations.
Absolutely, if possible.
Thanks.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Just a quick follow-up.
Okay.
Director Smith, just to follow up, so anticipated heavy voter turnout next year, selling these units, we will not be in a jammed up position. We won't have things that are down and then we don't have a voting unit available. Like, we've got plenty of backup supply if there is.
That's correct. And so we still have more than we deployed for even the presidential election.
Understood.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
That was my question. Thank you
Yes.
much.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Zero.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that item is approved. So let's go up now to item 251052. That is a all commission districts, Sourcewell contract. You can read the number, class 4H chassis, and cabs with related equipment, accessories, and service cooperative agreement for use by the Public Works Fleet Management to be used by Public Works Sanitation consists of purchasing from the competitively last sourceware contract for the provisions of 26 rear load trucks to collect refuse, recycling, and yard waste from various locations throughout the county. Awarded to Kenworth Trucks Company doing business as MHC Kenworth, Atlanta, amount not to exceed $7,645,000. I'm sorry, $7,645,946.88. Has this come back from audit?
It has not. I'm just
Okay.
asking that if you guys approve it pending audit would be great, so we don't get delayed any longer on these units. We're trying to get an order in before Waste Management does. If we don't, ours will take another few months before they'll be able to be built. So it's already
Okay.
gonna be about 18 months.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, if not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve pending audit based on the urgency that the director has expressed to us.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay. Let's approve pending audit. Okay. Okay, those were the only ones, I think
I think
that,
item 1033 maybe?
10, I'm sorry,
1033 was a vehicle purchase that I think,
1033 on
Yes, ma'am.
page 2.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's the all commission districts, a cooperative agreement, contract number 177718, ambulance, emergency vehicles, fire apparatus, and specialty vehicles, equipment, and accessories, and related equipment, supplies, and services for use by Public Works Fleet Management to be used by the Department of Voter Registration and Elections, consists of purchasing from the competitively led Omni contract for one step van with lift gate model. You can read that. Van will serve as a mobile voting similar, traveling throughout the county to educate residents on operations of the voting machine. Awarded to the Port of Portland, care of Faber Specialty Vehicles, amount not to exceed $511,987.25.
Yes, ma'am. This is a very special vehicle for the voter registration. Worked really hard on the spec. It's addition to the fleet. We've never had one before for an outreach to go out and educate citizens on the voting. We just need to try to get it approved so we can get it for them. It's good. This is a special built vehicle. It's going to take a little while to get it as well.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments? Okay. Is there a motion?
Just a quick
You have a
question.
question,
Just a
okay.
quick question. Director Gordon, this cooperative agreement addresses ambulances, emergency vehicles, fire apparatus, and specialty vehicles, and this is the specialty vehicle.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Very few people build something like this, and so, but we just have a vendor on contract to do it. So it's on the cooperative agreement contract.
Understood. I'm good.
Okay.
And I just want to clarify with VRE. I remember us having a discussion earlier this year about a mobile education center. Is this the same truck?
This is it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, ma'am.
All right.
That's it.
Just checking. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to approve item 2025-1033.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that item is approved. The next item is 2025-1012. All commission districts impacted by this item. Change order Number 5, the contract number 1132039, Animal Shelter Operation Services for DeKalb County, Georgia, for use by the Department of Public Safety Animal Enforcement Services. This contract consists of providing animal shelter operations and services. This request seeks to increase contract funds and terms through December 31st, 2025, awarded to Lifeline Animal Projects, amount not to exceed $2,182,500.50.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this would be the fourth quarter payment for the animal shelter contractor Lifeline. Instead of awarding a full year's contract, you all have broken it up into quarters, waiting for this audit report that was published 2 or 3 weeks ago by the auditor. And this would authorize the payment for the last 3 months of 2025.
Oh, okay, great. Are there any questions? Okay, Commissioner Bolden.
Thank you, sir, for bringing that to our attention, considering that we're paying out on a quarterly basis, and then the audit did have some recommendations so that we don't have to continue on a quarterly basis. Are we now planning to move forward with, I guess, an RFP? What are the next steps?
The next step would be receiving input from the commissioners about what changes you would like to see. And if that's the pleasure of the administration, then go out for RFP.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm certain that certain commissioners, I think, have expressed to the COO that they would like some additions to the current contract.
Okay. Commissioner Terry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just in regards to the audit, so we have received that report as of a couple weeks ago. Will the committee be receiving a presentation to go over that, since this is the committee of jurisdiction, to go over the audit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with it if y'all want to.
Okay. Well, I just mentioned it, Madam Chair, because, I mean, I certainly understand we do need to keep the operations of the shelter.
It was broken up because they wanted to do, the commission wanted to break it up in quarters.
Right, no, I know. I'm just saying it would be good, if it's all possible, if Lifeline could just come to the committee and say, you know, what are their responses to the audits? And presumably there's some things they can start on right away. So if we're going to extend this contract another 3 months, hopefully there'll be some progress, at least in the interim, while we work out the larger.
Yeah, so we can.
I made the request, Commissioner, to central staff to have someone come speak and talk about the priority areas with the audit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, well, I did with respect to public safety and IRPS.
Okay, that's good. The central staff didn't inform me of that, but we good. Okay.
Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Oh, in IRPS.
Yeah, for public safety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good. So we don't have to have it here.
No, we don't, unless you want to have it
No,
here, that's fine.
we good.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'll remind you, within the our independent auditor's report, it gives Lifeline's responses and the actual Mr. Crum's suggestions. The administration has been working on certain items. We suggested that we agreed and we disagreed with both parties in different areas. The rain has delayed the completion of your funding of additional spaces. We were hoping to get that completed in August, but it looks like it's probably going to be September until it's dried out.
We'll discuss it in IRPS. In IRPS.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, do we have a motion? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that is approved, and we've already done, okay, that's approved. So is it Mr. CEO, is it any other item that is pressing?
No, ma'am. Thank you. But I think that.
Okay, well, we still have 3 minutes, so we can go through another one. 1032 is a change order. The contract number 2000120 police pursuit and special service vehicles for use by Public Works Fleet Management. This contract consists of purchasing of the competitive-led statewide contract. You can read the number to support law enforcement and emergency responders in carrying out their daily duties that rely on the use of the pursuit and special service vehicles. This request seeks to increase contract funds and terms through October 31st, 2026, awarded to Hardy Chevrolet Brick, GMC Inc., amount not to exceed $2,700,000.
Yes, ma'am. This is just our cooperative agreement to buy those type of vehicles listed in there, which would be emergency response type police vehicles.
Are those different than your regular police cars?
They typically are. These are police vehicles. The sister one to this is going to be 1035. That is all the other vehicles. We actually put on 2 separate cooperative agreements we use because we get a different pricing on the police type vehicles.
Okay. Will it say for these pursuit and special service vehicles?
That's correct. So it's not just Tahoes. It would be if we had, sometimes we buy the heavy duty pickup trucks for fire.
Oh, okay.
Those kind of things that are special, that have special equipment on them.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments? Okay.
Quick question.
Yes,
Fleet Maintenance has some experience now with electric vehicles.
Yes, sir.
And they are more reliable. They were reliable to begin with, but they seem to be more reliable now. Is there a movement to put more electric vehicles into sort of, I guess, more critical response vehicles?
Yes, sir. We have some cooperation with the police department now, and we are looking at doing some, especially some administrative type vehicles along with some management type vehicles.
Okay.
They're more than willing to do it. The infrastructure is the biggest holdback. It's getting the chargers in, and then we also still trying to work on a way to charge them at home. But the infrastructure here, it doesn't happen quick. You know, it's been very difficult. But Gordon's doing a great job. He's got money, and it's a matter of getting it done. But it's a lot of work. It's not just easy.
Understood. The Target in District 1, unincorporated, has a fast charger for anyone that needs one. So, FYI.
Right.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that item
Thank you very
is
much.
approved. Okay, we have 2 items here, and I guess they can be brought at our next committee of the whole. And when is that? That's the 3rd.
I have, Ken.
I'm sorry.
We're doing now.
What did you say? No.
Your next ops meeting would be August 19th, I'm sorry.
August 19th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let me ask that Chair of Herbs. I got 2 items. Can we do it now? Do you need to have your time now?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
10:35. I'm gonna let you.
Why don't you do 10:35?
Okay, 10:35. No, you're gonna do this. Okay, 10:35 is all commission district statewide contract. You can read the number. Administrative vehicles for the use by Public Works Fleet Management consists of purchasing of the competitively led statewide contract. Read the number to supply the county with administrative vehicles like sedans, SUVs, vans, and trucks to be used for daily operation tasks that necessitates the use of such vehicles. Awarded to Hardy Chevrolet Brit, Inc., about not to exceed $2,450,000. $450,000.
Yes, ma'am, and this is just similar as the previous contract. This is just for all other vehicles that we purchase for the light-duty vehicles that we buy for the county. It's on the replacement list that you guys approved back with your budget.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So I'm going to pass this gavel to Commissioner Patrick to take the last one, 1054.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
And I'll be back, but after this.
Agenda item 2025-1054. This is for all commission districts. Sourcewell contract number 032824 PMC. Classic 4.8 chassis cab with related equipment, accessories, and services. Cooperative agreement for use by Public Works Fleet Management to be used by Public Works Sanitation. Consists of purchasing from the competitively let Sourcewell contract for the provision of 3 heavy-duty CNG road tractors for transporting refuse, recycling, and yard waste to the Seminole Road landfill. Awarded to Peterbilt Motors Company, doing business as Peterbilt of Atlanta, LLC. Amount not to exceed $886,155. Director?
Yes, sir. These are 3 replacement tractors. They'll be hauling from our transfer stations, tractor trailers to the landfill. And the reason we do that is we just don't have to run all the trucks to the landfill. We can put 3 garbage truck loads into 1 tractor trailer. So that keeps less route trucks on the road. And these are CNG powered, so these are very environmentally friendly trucks.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes, I move to approve item 2025-1054. I'm sorry. I don't have
I'll
any
second.
questions.
And commissioners, and those that are here, any questions? No? Okay. Proper motion, proper second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.